So thank you for coming on and speaking to me today, Mark. Obviously, Mark Atkins, former footballer, also Premier League winner, alongside Colin Hendry, we interviewed earlier on this week as well. I'm going to start off with the same question I asked Colin. And what's been your career highlight?
I think when you've won the Premier League, that full season has got to be the highlight of your career. I think that's the biggest part of anybody that was involved in that season. It was fantastic how it worked out for us and how hard we worked for it. But personally, on a one-game basis, I would say the playoff final, when we beat Leicester in '92 to get promoted to the Premier League. That was probably my proudest moment to get up there and play as a one game.
It was interesting when I asked Colin, because he's Scottish and he went for the sort of bias of winning the treble, but obviously being an English lad yourself, was it kind of a surreal moment when that happened, when you won the Premier League?
Oh, very much so. It was obviously something you dream of as a child, just when you're growing up playing football in the back garden, and the things that you dream of. And for me especially, being coming from Scunthorpe United in '88 and coming to a club that we got in the playoffs a couple of times, didn't quite manage to get over the line. Just all things just changed when Jack came in and put money in and brought Kenny on. And all the players were coming, were just fantastic, great quality players. We got a good squad together, and that season was just exceptional. We were going out every game knowing that we were going to win. And when you get that mentality, it takes you places. So yeah, a very proud moment.
And you just touched on there about Kenny. What was it like playing under Kenny? Obviously, he's a football idol, and he was, kind of Ulysses him in some of his playing days, I think, or at least definitely, his early days of management as well, going into that Blackburn season. What was it like playing under someone like him?
I think the big thing that Kenny had straight away was the respect of all players because of what he'd done in the game. Not just managing, but his playing career. I mean, he's probably one of the best players I've ever seen in my lifetime play. And when somebody like that walks into your dressing room, you think, if I can't learn off this guy, who am I going to learn off? And it was one of them things. He had a great, presence about him, and he knew exactly what to say at the right time. He was one of the lads, to be fair, until match days. He changed on a match day, came the gaffer. But during the week, he used to train with us and join in and, be one of the lads, gives all the banter and everything. He was one of the biggest ones, giving the stick out to everybody. So great things. And, he got to a stage where if they said to you, run through a brick wall, you'd have tried to run through that brick wall for him. It was that, he was that good.
When people speak about that season where you won the league, they often talk about sort of Alan Shearer, being the star man. But obviously, you were playing, you were seeing him in training and on match days. For you, who was, if it weren't Alan, or if it is Alan, that's fine. Who was your, the best player at the club, or at least your favourite player to play alongside?
I think you get asked this a lot. The best player you played with. And I think as an impact on a game, you would say Alan Shearer on a club. I think the best two players I ever played with in my whole career were Tim Sherwood and David Batty for me. Bats was just outstanding, the way he passed the ball and the way he moved things, and he just made the game look so easy. And myself with Tim Sherwood, when we formed a partnership in midfield, we just knew each other's game inside out, and it worked at a treat. So, them two guys were exceptional for me.
And you just touched on there, sort of Tim Sherwood and Batty. They were both the midfielders at the time in that winning season. I think when I was reading it, was saying that a lot of people thought it was just Batty and Sherwood, but you actually played something like 36 times that season. And I asked Colin the same question as well. Was it a case for Kenny that he very much trusted in you guys as his players?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you got in the team and you performed every week that he wanted you to perform, you'd stay in the team. It didn't matter who was on the sidelines, whether he was worth 10 million, 20 million, whatever. It didn't matter. You did your job and you stayed in the team, which was great for everybody. I had to basically, get myself in that team. The season before when Bats came in, like I said, Bats was probably one of the best players I've played with. And he came the season before, and I never really played so much to sit, the 93, 94 season, I didn't play that much. So I had offers to leave and, decided I wanted to stay. And I'm really pleased I did, because the next season when Bats got injured and he missed the whole season until the last 4 or 5 games, I had a good run in the team. And like I say, Kenny trusts you. If he knows you're doing the job for him, he'd put you in, week out, and trust you to play.
And touching on your career as a whole and Blackburn, I think in that title-winning season you scored something like 6 goals, with some big goals that season as well. I think against Liverpool was one of them. For you on a personal level, for in your career and for Blackburn, what's been your favourite goals?
I think the most favourite goal is in a game where he gets remembered for something else against Southampton at home, where Matt Le Tissier scores an absolute wonder goal. And everybody, I say, all my mates and people I know, he went around me twice before he scored, or near enough. I was like jockeying him, sort of thing, and he put it in the top corner from like 40 yards. But in that game, I actually scored the first goal in that game, a corner that came out to me on the edge of the box, and I volleyed it straight to the top corner. And that never even gets mentioned, so it's a bit of a shame. I think that's probably the best goal I scored. But I scored, some important goals, and that's what you were there for. Me and Tim Sherwood had to go and get the goals, and I think we got about 6 each.
Would you say, you mentioned Sherwood and Bayer were probably, 2 of the best players you played with, but in your time with Blackburn, who would you say your favourite teammate was to play with? Who was sort of your best mate there at the time?
I think one of the best players I played with, from going there, was probably Scott Sellers. I think, Scott had a great left foot and a great ability. He just unlucky, he left at probably the wrong time. He just left before, just after when we got promoted. If he'd have stayed, he probably would have stayed in there. But a lot of good players. Colin was outstanding as a centre half. He did everything that you wanted a centre half to do, and no messing about. He was exceptional. Then we have, the Jason Wilcox, coming up the ranks and getting in the team and playing. So, fantastic players, and it's very hard to pick out one or two. But the lads that was there when I first came, Colin, Jason, I think it was great for us 3 especially to see the team build and get ourselves a Premier League medal. And
you touched on Colin there. We're going to go on to talk about a little bit about the charities now, the charity game itself. Firstly, how many have you played in a charity game before?
I've played a couple of games a long time ago, probably 10 years ago. It's a long time since I've played, but yeah.
So why for you? I asked Colin the same as well, and I think he said he feels like he should give something back. Why for you are you getting involved in this charity game?
I think the big thing is that Len was a teammate when I first went to in '98. I think he signed his first professional contract when I signed. So he was round about the same time that we joined the first team squad really, and he was very unlucky not to get more games. To be fair to Len, when he was there, but a great lad, and I think it is a case of just giving something back, and if you can help in any way. And this is our way that we can help. I'm not going to say we'll be running around like, 18-year-olds like we used to. It'll be a very slower game and things like that because the knees have gone and the calves don't stand up very well to much exercise. But we'll try our best, and I think it is nice to just give something back.
Colin gave me a scoreline prediction on the day. He said he'd be disappointed if it wasn't double figures, and he said he's happy with his squad as well. Would you agree you've got a strong enough squad to back up Colin's prediction?
Hopefully, yeah. But I think there'll be plenty of goals. There always is. But depends how he. If he's saying there's going to be a lot of goals, I think Colin should be keeping them out, not getting them in.
Well, that's the issue with something he said. He said he might venture up for 5 or 10 minutes, which I can imagine is going to make your job a little bit more hard work because you're going to have to sit a little bit more deeper. But would you be willing to do that for him?
Well, yeah. Well, that's something we used to play with Colin. We know what he's like. He likes to go on his long runs forward and don't get back very quick.
It's obviously we know there's a lot of players there, a lot of players from that 94-95 season, a lot of former players, some current ones as well, like Billy Key. Obviously, he's playing as well. Who are you most looking forward to sort of linking up and seeing on the day? Who are you looking forward to seeing the most?
I think possibly just the lads that really, I know really well, Kevin and Colin, Brett Hall and Rod, who know him with doing the radio work. So it'd be nice to see them guys, but obviously the lads that you don't really know, been playing recently, it'd be nice to see them playing as well, and you can just sit back and give them the ball and say, off you go. that sort of thing. So yeah, it's going to be a good day.
And obviously Tony Cartwright is setting all this up. How well do you know Tony?
I actually don't know him at all, so it'd be nice to meet him. This is just something that's come through Kevin, Colin, and Andy Bates, where they've asked me to see if I would come and join in. So I was going to say yes, and it'd be a good day.
Definitely. Also, Tony Parks is going to be there. I'm pretty sure he was about the time you were about. What's it like going to be for you linking up with him again?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Tony's a big influence on my career. He was the one that actually phoned me to go for talks to go to Blackburn when I was at Scunthorpe. So, he was the first person I ever spoke to regarding Blackburn. And he was the one really that changed my career by coming from fullback to changing me to a midfield player. So I got, big respect for Tony. He did a great job while I was there. And it's just a shame that, he's got a bit of an illness now. But, it'd be great to see him again.
And you just mentioned there that you was a fullback and you got turned into a midfielder. Firstly, why did you start out as a fullback, and which position do you enjoy the most?
I started at Scunthorpe United when I was 14. I signed schoolboy forms at 14 at Scunthorpe United, and I was probably near enough 6 foot then, but very thin and very, not really built up. And I came as a midfield player, stroke forward, and they actually made me a fullback there. I played fullback centre half for Scunthorpe for 2 or 3 years and moved to midfield. And I think that was definitely my preferred position after that, knowing how to play there and how well I did, for the team and for myself. I think, I would always be classed myself as a midfield player now.
And I was reading up on you as well before we spoke, and you went into management a little bit, sort of caretaking in 2000, 2003. And then at Matlock Town in 2008 to 2014. What was that like? What's the biggest difference between obviously playing and being a manager?
I think it's the case of having to look after so many different players and so many different individual minds and things like that, and putting the team together. I mean, it was a great experience. I really enjoyed my time managing. It's very difficult non-league level because you don't know how many players you're going to get to turn up on a Tuesday or a Thursday when a training goes on, and you can get people pulling out of matches when you've got a team together. But it's encouraging. We did very well. We managed to save Matlock Town from the bottom of the league by a good 15 points when I took over, and we were safe with 3 or 4 games to go. So we did really well under the budget circumstances we had. And like I say, it's really enjoyable to see players go on that you're teaching and learning things from, going on to a high level, which was great for me.
Have you ever thought about maybe returning to management, or have you sort of hung those boots to one side since 2014?
Well, when I finished playing, I went straight into the non-league game. I played for a couple of years, assistant manager, then went managing. So I had probably 12 years at it straight away. So I needed a bit of a break. I think I've had that break now. And if something comes around, I could maybe go back in and see what it's like. But I don't think it ever leaves you, the football side of things, whether you want to play, whether you want to manage or coach or whatever. I think it's always in your blood.
And Colin mentioned that on the day, he's got some history with the Hollyoaks boys. Obviously, you've had a bit of a break from that. Have any of the players playing on the day who've played more recently in these charity games, if they give you a heads up of what to expect?
No, not really spoke to anybody about it. Just be probably when we get close to the day, we'll probably have a chat. But nothing really. I don't really know who's going to be playing in the opposition or anything.
Well, to give you an heads up, Colin said there's a bit of rivalry between him and the Hollyoaks boys, which probably won't come to a surprise to you.
Is there? Nice. We can't beat a bit of rivalry now and again. It goes with the territory.